Good morning, brothers and sisters. This is a prophecy report entitled, Casting Truth to the Ground. When the disciples asked Jesus about the signs of his coming and the end of the age, the first thing he said was, "Take heed that no man deceive you." Matthew 24, verse 4. Deception is a major sign of the end of the age, and it will reach its peak during the tribulation period. Jesus mentioned it 4 times in the Olivet Discourse. It confirms a vision that Daniel had about a coming leader that would cast the truth to the ground. Daniel 8, verse 12. The angel Gabriel revealed that this coming leader would have many of the traits of a master deceiver that would rise at the time of the end. Here is more information that seems to indicate that the end of the age has arrived. Concerning deceit, on August 26, 2021, Biden pulled America's troops out of Afghanistan against the advice of his military leaders. America's troops abandoned about $80 billion of U.S. weapons, 13 U.S. service members, and approximately 170 Afghan citizens were killed by 2 suicide bombers. A U.S. drone mistakenly killed about 10 innocent Afghan civilians trying to flee in a vehicle, and many U.S. citizens and Afghan allies were left behind despite America's promise to get them out. The White House National Security Council has now prepared a report on what happened with the input of Biden and the Pentagon. The report is being kept confidential, but a summary has been released of their findings. And on April 6th, the White House spokesman, John Kirby, said Biden is proud of the pullout. He saw no chaos, and he blamed former President Trump for what happened. Because the truth is so well known, it is amazing that our leaders preferred to lie. Concerning deceit and false accusers, on March 27th, a 28-year-old transgender activist killed 3 students and 3 adults at a private Christian school he or she once attended in Nashville, Tennessee. Even though transgender activists have been involved in several acts of violence in recent months, and even though there are transgender activist groups encouraging violence, many in the media chose to blame the shooting on guns, Christians, Republicans, and conservatives. Because the truth that the transgender shooter probably had mental problems did not fit the narrative that some in the media would like to portray, they cast the truth to the ground. Dishonesty and false accusations in the media are setting the stage for persecution of people who become believers during the tribulation period. On April 11th, it was reported that information obtained with the Freedom of Information Act request found that the Biden administration and the Department of Justice instigated the FBI raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. According to the senior counsel for the agency that initiated the request, quote, "The president and the Department of Justice unlawfully abused their power, then lied about it to the American people. They instigated an illegal raid on the home of a political opponent and told the American people they were stunned when they found out the FBI did it." Concerning the decline of America and the rise of the New World Order, on April 8th, Russia announced that talks on ending the Russian invasion of Ukraine should include a discussion about creating the New World Order. Russia claims she is leading a struggle against U.S. dominance worldwide, and her war in Ukraine is part of that fight. Concerning the decline of America, on April 9th, Emmanuel Macron, President of France, was returning home from a trip to China, where he discussed ways to improve France's relationship with China and efforts to end the war in Ukraine. On his way home, Macron said, quote, "Europe must reduce its dependence on the U.S. and reduce dependence on the dollar." His effort to improve France's relationship with China appears to include casting off America's dominance of the European Union and the free world. On April 10th, it was reported that the U.S. is planning to send officials next month to some of our allies in Europe, Switzerland, Italy, and Germany, and Central Asia to threaten sanctions against them if they don't start enforcing U.S. sanctions on Russia. It is unclear how our allies will respond, but Iran believes they will eventually get tired of U.S. bullying. Concerning the tracking of all buying and selling, as I understand it, the U.S. Federal Reserve will introduce its FedNow central bank digital currency in July for transactions between banks. The Fed must get banks in the system before it gets individual citizens in the system. Following a successful rollout with the banks at some unknown point, the use of CBDCs will be expanded to transactions between U.S. citizens. Now, I cannot predict what will happen, but I have seen reports that citizens will be allowed to use both the present system, cash, checks, etc., and CBDCs, but the present system, cash and checks, will eventually be phased out. When the present system is phased out, the U.S. government will be able to track all buying and selling. A digital currency to track all buying and selling in the U.S. is not the same as a one world currency to track all buying and selling on the earth, but it will be a major step in that direction. And I believe the church will be raptured before a one world currency and the ability to track all buying and selling on earth comes into being. Those that are watching are seeing it beginning to come to pass, but Christians won't be here when it is fully implemented all over the world. Concerning the Battle of Gog and Magog, on April 9th, it was reported that Iran and its proxies and allies are launching multi-front attacks on Israel. On April 1st, Iran flew a drone into Israeli airspace. On April 3rd, a drone from Gaza went into Israel. From April 5th to the 7th, rockets were fired from Gaza into Israel. April 6th, 34 rockets were fired from Lebanon into Israel. And April 8th through the 9th, rockets were fired from Syria into Israel. In addition to these attacks from outside of Israel, there have been shootings, riots, and demonstrations inside Israel. At some point, Russia, Iran, Turkey, and others are going to attack Israel on the Golan Heights and be defeated. On April 9th, it was reported that the commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard said, quote, "The elimination of Israel is on the horizon." It was reported that the president of Turkey said that the Muslim world must unite against Israel. Perhaps he was being deceptive when he recently said he wants to improve Turkey's relationship with Israel. On April 10th, an Israeli expert on the Middle East published in a Jerusalem newspaper saying that he believes Iran is planning a multi-front attack on Israel in the foreseeable future that will include all the forces at its disposal in Arab countries. Finally, are you rapture ready?